Welcome to another episode of Traffic Time. I think today I want to talk about freelancing. Talking about different situations and solutions that I've come up with over my decade-long career in the software development industry. So let's start by just getting the money part out of the way. I see people asking, how much should I charge for a project? And from my experience, I think it's best to charge by the hour and not by the project. Oh, I gotta get over. When you start working with a client, there's always gonna be things that they want changed or they want features added. And if you just charged by the project, they can keep you going forever. And if you charge by the hour, cool, let's keep it going forever. Now, how much should I charge? That's probably the next question that you're asking yourself. The rule of thumb for me is 7.5 times how many years of experience you have. So I have right around 10 years of experience, so I charge $75 an hour. Now I actually have more than 10 years of experience, probably more like 12, 13 years of experience. But 75 an hour seems about right for me. And I would imagine in about another 7 or 8 years that I would charge $150 an hour. But another thing is, when you have all this experience, it's going to take you less time. And the code that you're going to write is going to be a lot more organized. Now, what about project management for a freelance client? Well, if you don't know, there's a methodology called Scrum. If you're getting clients and you're saying, okay, this is what you want, let me just go build this real quick, then you're going to run into a lot of problems. You're going to run into bugs. They're going to want things changed, want features added, and at the end of the day, your client's not going to be very happy, especially if you're charging by the hour. But if you use Scrum, it will allow you to catch those sooner. It will allow you to fix them before you go out and spend a ton of time implementing a feature. Now, I suggest when you have a new client to sit down with them and have a little powwow. You're still charging $75 an hour for all of this. You're not charging $75 just when you start writing code. The code is just a small bit of the project. And if you do the planning stage right, then the coding process will be even shorter. So you have your client and they have an idea for a product. You sit down with them and you bring in a notebook. You listen to their ideas, you jot them down, you start building off their ideas, and you guys start, coming up with ideas together. And then you go and you refine all of those ideas. And then the next step is you get some graph paper and you sketch out the product. And then you scan those sketches, or you can just meet up with your client, depending on your circumstances, and you present to them the sketch. And you have all of the pages laid out. Another thing that I want to mention is don't try to develop the whole product at once. Like when you meet up with them for the first time and you guys have this little powwow and you go over all these ideas, you might have pages and pages of ideas. And we're going to come back to that, and I'm going to show you how you can use those. But you're going to want to go through all of these ideas and figure out what the most crucial components are. What are the bare minimum features that you can implement to get this product up and going? And then that's what you're going to sketch out for the first prototype. And actually, instead of showing them the sketches, you can take those sketches and put them into a tool like Envision or something like that. And Envision will allow you to create hotspots. So say you have a navigation bar. You can put hotspots over all the buttons, and when they click on one of the buttons, you can have it forward to another sketch. So not only do they get to see the interface, but they also get to play around with the experience. And this is going to make it way easier for you to go in and redo things. Instead of, okay, I developed this whole feature, I spent 4 or 5 hours developing this. Oh, and that's not really what you wanted. And instead it's only I spent 15, 30 minutes sketching this out. A huge time saver and a huge productivity booster. So now you have the bare minimum features that you need. You've went and sketched it all out, and you've put it into Envision, And now you have this prototype that they can go in and click around on your sketch. Are we ready to develop? No, not yet. The next step is to take those sketches and use them as a framework to develop the UI, using something like Affinity or Photoshop. So it's kind of the same as step 2, except for this time you're really focusing on the UI. Make sure you use layers, make sure you save those documents, because your clients are always going to want things changed. And then once you have the whole UI figured out, you export those images and you put it into InVision and you create another prototype. This will allow them to click around on your image and it will forward them to different parts and they can kind of get a feel of the experience. And then finally, it's time to start developing. I should have probably mentioned this in the first part. If you're trying to communicate with your client with email and text messages, you're wasting your time. I personally like to use Slack because Slack has a bunch of little integrations and you can have separate rooms for different discussions. So say for instance, you're developing and you just implemented a feature and you've pushed it to GitHub. Well, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna text message or email your client saying, I just implemented those features and I pushed them to the repo? No, it's a waste of your time. So with Slack, there is a GitHub integration. So when you push to the repo, you get a little notification. That way, you're not wasting your time. Now, you should be using GitHub. That should go without me even mentioning it. Another cool thing about GitHub is it allows you to add issues to your repo. So maybe they're using it and they've come across a bug. You can go to that repo's issues, and when you add that issue to the repo, they'll get a notification on Slack if you've integrated it. And the same goes for when you've fixed it. So you've fixed it and you close the issue, and they'll get a notification saying that you've closed that issue. It's gonna save you a ton of time. And it's gonna help you consolidate a lot of that communication. Whew, it's hot again. And really, that's pretty much it. If you follow those steps, you're gonna be able to develop solutions with way less of a headache, using InVision, GitHub, and Slack. Trust me, I've done this for a while. I know how hard it can be. But if you use those tools, it's really straightforward. Now let's bring it back. In the beginning of this video, I said, you listen to their ideas, you jot them down, you start building off their ideas, and you guys start, coming up with ideas together. So you should still have that notebook full of all of those ideas that you guys came up with. This means after you've launched the product with the bare minimum features, you can now say to them, hey, you remember in the beginning we talked about adding this feature? That was an amazing idea. I think we should do that. And this means that you can keep this relationship going. Anyway, I think that does it for this episode of Traffic Time. If you have questions, you know what to do with them. Make sure to leave a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And if you like these videos, you know what to do. You subscribe. Then I'll show up in your feed. That's how YouTube works. And until next time.